All right, this should be exciting. We have got quite the interesting game for you folks because it's going to be Mongols versus Delhi Sultan. And the reason it's going to be interesting is because Delhi Sultan are dead, didn't you hear? Not only that, but we seem to have been exposing him a little bit too much. Blue Elephant was getting a little bit too much street cred, so he has, of course, put on his disguised moustache and his monocle and renamed himself to Blue Elephanto, which I can assure you is the same person. But he's going to be up against Yo. Should be an interesting matchup. Both these players in the top 40, I believe it was. Blue Elephant, I think, was even tapping into the top 10. Yeah, up at 5th with 1,850 ELO compared to Xiao. Xiao currently sitting at 1,691 ELO. So I'm thrilled to see how this one's going to play out because, of course, Delhi Sultanate are trash right now. Is at least the opinion of practically all the high-level players and all your standardized players across the board, because they're bugged in a lot of ways right now. I think the most noticeable ones are the research times, which were meant to be altered. One of the big things that they've done is they moved Sanctity, which is the research that allows you to grab the sacred sites before Castle Age. They moved that up into the Feudal Age, so you can't research straight away, which has really changed the opening. And you can see it already, right? Usually what we'd see out of these Delhi players is they'd immediately drop a mosque. Right now, Blue Elephanto hasn't even bothered. Right, he's used his wood elsewhere. He's prioritized the dock instead because the prioritization in the early game is completely just flipped. Right, it's no longer about just getting that cheeky gold treacle straight away because it takes so much longer to arrive. Not only do you have to wait to feudal time, but it seems that maybe unintentionally, Sanctity takes 5 minutes once you reach feudal to research. And of course, there's another bunch of funky issues that maybe will make this game interesting. Because for me, like obviously the first few days, Delhi, people were just delving in. They're trying left, right, and center to make it work with the changes. And they're discovering bugs, right? There's things such as Homeblaze taking 15 times to research compared to what it should be, which is the 5 times research speed, right? And then you've got things like Herbal Medicine is taking 5 times instead of 3 times, right? And this is across the board. Piety is taking 15 times instead of 3 times. There's a lot of bugs around the research speeds right now. And that does mean that the way you're going to have to play Delhi is going to be completely different to what it was on the previous patch, at least until a lot of these get fixed. What I'm intrigued to see is whether elephants get utilized here, because one thing to highlight is that after the patch, after they fixed animation canceling with scouts, you can now animation cancel with elephants to increase their DPS. So kind of intrigued to see if that comes into fruition. There's another few issues that maybe are going to be the detriment of Blue Elephant in the early game. For example, the Spearmen right now, it appears that they don't brace for cavalry charges. So if Xiao does go into like early Horsemen, that could be a bit more a problem maybe for Blue Elephant. I doubt it though. I mean, one, you're against spears regardless, so you eventually get in the melee. And not to mention the fact that you're playing up against Delhi, so you know it's almost definitely going to be spears in the early game. But finally, Blue Elephant is going to now drop the mosque. So he does go back for it, as you'd expect. It is free tech at the end of the day, and it is going to allow you to research quicker. And straight away into the efficient production, of course, this allows you to produce at twice the speed out of building when you garrison a scholar inside. Just allows you to be more efficient with your buildings, and especially in the Mongol matchup, will allow you to just keep pace with the rate at which this Civ can push out units, courtesy of the Uvu double production, right? But something else I was really hoping to see on this patch was going to be a switch up on the first tech up. So usually when it comes to feudal tech for the Delhi, we usually see the religious side, right? The eco side, so they can get the cheaper scholars, the 75 gold cost scholars that get produced out of the big landmark mosque. I was kind of hoping we start seeing Tower of Victory, but Tower of Victory is also suffering on the bug front at the moment. It seems to have some issues regarding granting attack speeds and incorrect numbers. Because for those that don't know, because honestly, I don't think I've seen one game of Delhi where it gets built. Because Sanctity was so overwhelming in the early game, like there's nothing else you could do, really. It was just inefficient to do anything else. But maybe now, like especially once Tower of Victory gets fixed in the upcoming patch, I hope, we'll see it more often. Tower of Victory, for those that don't know, it is a building with an area around it, and if any infantry, ranged or melee, enter the area, they get, and I love how it actually technically says this, they get about 15% attack speed permanently increased on them. So you can see, actually, it's a pretty powerful buff, right, to get access to at that stage. You can see how that can scale into the late game, but it was always outshined by the ability to get cheaper scholars, because that critical timing you're looking for as the Delhi around capturing the sacred sites. But that's what I'm really excited to see, considering, I will warn you now, this game is fairly long. We're going to be way past the 30-minute mark. I don't want to spoil or anything else. I just want to let you know this isn't going to be one of those games where Delhi like, oh, everything doesn't work as intended. This sucks. Sanctity needs to be buffed again. Surrenders game. We're actually going to get some action in that regard. Currently, the action is around this dock location. So Blue Elephant was not able to prevent Sho getting on the water. He might be able to get him just in time before we finish the outpost. It's going to be tight. And it looks like he will be able to snipe him out. He'll chase the villager. He's committed to it now. I mean, the Khan will probably chase him down afterwards, but eco damage is going to be done. And there's going to be a switch out as well. So Sho bringing in a new villager to ensure the outpost goes down and can secure his fishing eco, because both of them have gone on the water already. And it's fair to say Sho is a little bit behind. As Blue Elephant, he got out here super early, right? He's already got 8 ships on the water. If I recall correctly, I think they start with slightly more wood. No, actually, I think the same amount of wood. So it was just an immediate prioritization there, as opposed to, obviously, for Sho, the thing that you want to get first is going to be this delicious uvu. So that's where your first 150 wood goes. It just seems illogical to not do it first, right? Because you want to have that prep timing to be able to double spam units, because the whole concept here is while Blue Elephant is prioritizing economy with his opening wood, Sho is prioritizing a delayed military presence, but it will be powerful when it arrives because of all this stone that he's stacked up already. And he will need to find a way to apply that early. It's going to be tough considering that Blue Elephant, now going for his second dock and already having an outpost down, is well guarded in this area. His main base is also going to get outpost down, so just not really any entry point for Sho at this rate. And it is going to be the Dome of Faith. So we're not going to get a mix-up. A little bit disappointed, but as I said, considering that there's a few bugs around Tower of Victory, I'm not all that surprised that it didn't get picked up. But they are around the same on the feudal timings. Of course, Sho did slightly beat out Blue Elephant to it. And he did go for the Deer Stones. Deer Stones nicely placed, actually. I love this placement. Really big prioritization, guys. When you play the Mongols, make sure that you're actually sticking your Deer Stone at a location where not only does it buff your eco, but also assist the movement speed of your military as they push through the enemy side of the base. Because you see instantly, Sho drops the archer range, goes into double production of archers. If he had his Deer Stone, let's say it's a different layout and he had his TC behind where his Uvu is, he'd have this awkward situation where he's not able to get his units out quickly. Now, being land infantry, they'd be pretty slow, right? They're 1.25. But the moment they're in there, it's 1.44. And that buff will last long enough that they can easily get past the midpoint of the map. So Sho did go for an early light junk, and he is building them all, so he's looking to just siege up the water. Blue Elephant on the other side is starting to build in the Dow ships as well, just trying to counter out his opponent here. I'm trying to think who I'd actually give the edge to. I think light junks, if you can keep your opponent running away, are slightly stronger than Dow ship, but I think Dow's like directly just engaging, don't care. So I think if the Delhi player matches you, I could see him kind of having the edge. He's also got enough fishing ships that he can supplement a few of them to chase you down. And there you go. So you can see the difference. Dow versus light junks. Light junks, they have more damage. But Dows are more tanky, and that's the problem you got to deal with. So Archer's just holding at the straight right now, not looking to pursue into the economy lines of Blue Elephant. Blue Elephant hasn't really even protected his eco lines when you look at either. He also hasn't gone on to the barriers at all. I like that he's just upgraded them just in case. He wants to get these gathering rates right. But the reality is, like, what he's setting up for is the anticipation that he might be forced off the water. Of course, you get horticulture for free, right? You get all these research for free. So he wants to get them out of the way, and in the event that he has to come off the water because the aggression's too hard, he'll have a fallback plan already in place with buffed up gathering rates so that it actually functions as a decent replacement for the lost economy on the water. That's if he's even forced off, of course. Well, just back and forth skirting. Remember, Delhi, they do have the fishing boats with ranged attacks. It's one of their unique perks. They're the only civ that get it. But it's only 7 damage. You don't really want to pull them off the eco lines. It's not really worth it to try and engage because they will get sunk. But just trying to buy a little bit of time to keep increasing that fleet. And I expect the same coming out from the other side. The difference here is that Blue Elephant's a lot more comfortable in this situation because he has 2 docks. He can actually, if he wants to keep boosting his eco front, he can keep pushing out fishing ships while also pushing out an equal amount of military ships to Sho. But because he's not keeping the pressure on, you see Sho now sneaking across, looking towards his base. Now, he can't get at the gold, but he hasn't checked out the rest of the base recently. He heads in towards the gold line anyway. There's too many villagers here to garrison them, so look to back up. And that's actually enough to scare away Sho. Sho, we're kind of probing there. Slight delay on the economy for Blue Elephant, but nothing substantial actually happening there. And if you look at the numbers, Blue Elephant doing pretty well on the gold front. Delhi players, they need to get on the gold lines now. And this is really what's made the difference, right? Is the fact that this is a map with river, right? I think Delhi's opening is a lot more tough now, a lot more different if you consider land-only maps, stuff like Dry Arabia, right? They can still potentially compete, But one of their biggest boons was this whole concept of Sanctity. Sanctity that is just no longer available to you until you get into Feudal. And you can see, he's almost done with Herbal Medicine. Sanctity should take 3 minutes after that with 3 Scholars garrisoned. Chase in. A lot of light junks here. Blue Elephant, I don't think he kept producing, but he has got the archers in the fishing boats able to fight back against this, and he has got repair dues on his home field. The problem is the archers on land are doing decent damage here as well, and it is causing heavy injuries towards Blue Elephant. Quicker than he can actually dish out to his opponent. Gets the rate of fire buff. Fishing ship's trying to keep the Dao ship up. Remember, it has a higher DPS. The archers are moving out now. But that's going to be the last of his aggressive fleet gone. I say that one more is just ready from Dao. But his opponent now show up to 7 light junks on the water. He will look to repair these up before moving out. But the important part is he was able to sink not only Dao or 2, but also I think he got 1 to the fishing ship. So he set back Blue Elephant's economy slightly. And look at the lead that Xiao has. He has the required amount of food. He just needs to get the gold sword, and then he'll be able to go for the tech up. Meanwhile, Blue Elephant, absolute reverse. He has too much gold, not enough food. And part of that is because he went into this early archer army, right? He needed to be present. He realized his opponent was aggressing against him. And oh, movement in. I'm not sure what the plan is here. I think they're just they're attacking the TC for no explainable reason. So Xiao will lose 1 archer for nothing. I'm surprised he didn't try for the wraparound. I thought that would be his move there. And look at this move from Blue Elephant. We said he's now limited on the food front, so he's trying to make up for it on land. So switches a lot of people off the goal line onto the berry bushes now. Remember, Delhi get that extra 25% gather rate. Makes it very competitive with that of the herding gathering rate from Xiao with his sheep economy over here, which he's already started to slowly transition to with the pastures. Doesn't want to overshow his hand, right? He's still got plenty of fish to gather on the waters, so he can kind of diversify in that regard. He doesn't have to hard commit on the land. And tech up, beginning. And this is where you can begin to boom, right? Like Xiao is playing the Mongols. Mongols with the step readout gives you that extra 50% on drop-off out of nowhere, magically turning a 4k gold vein into a 6k. And Xiao trying to keep his lead up here. Will force Blue Elephant to back away. They're just trying to buy time, though. The House of Learning is currently being constructed by Blue Elephant, so there's only so much ground he can give. Meanwhile, on the water, the pushing comes out. Plenty of light junks here. And they'll be able to sink Blue Elephant 1 by 1 under the protection of his docks. It's just not good enough. He didn't keep up the Dao production. He's more or less surrendered the water at this rate. However, outposts, not garrisoned. Light junks will waste their time firing on it. So in the end, Xiao will just back away from this, which means he'll leave 1 light junk behind to die. He did push out a lot of the fishing fleet, though. You can see Blue Elephant moves them up far to the north. So they can still keep gathering in the meantime. But Xiao, not really confident to hang around under the influence of the docks, just trying to fight anything that comes out. He could have probably pushed all the way up the river and found the rest of the fishing fleet, and that would have been a huge hit to Blue Elephant's future eco. Because now that he's still got fishing ships on the water, he can keep collecting here. But Xiao now to Castle Age. Blue Elephant, just a few moments behind. Homeblades is still clunky, remember. We're talking about it has this weird multiplier on its research speed, but I think that's what he's aiming for still. You can see it right there. Look, guys, come on. 11 minutes is... Okay, I get the Homeblades was kind of OP. But that was when it was +4 damage and +1 extra on top of that for men-at-arms because it was bugged. Now it's +3 for men-at-arms and lancers and it's all fixed. I think 11 minutes... with this many scholars around is kind of overkill, folks. Needs to be changed, please. So, Xiao, seeing his opponent teched up instead of rebuilding the fleet, will move in. Oh, no. No, the explosive Dao. Xiao, he's about to be in trouble here. Comes straight out into the middle of them. And a second one coming in. That's going to be the fleet sunk. Doesn't get the land infantry, though. Able to move the archers away. And he's still actually got 5 ships up for the moment, but that should back him off. He doesn't actually have the ability to take down these docks. If anything, he needs to get himself some boom ships out. But Xiao kind of limited on that front right now, just choosing not to actually invest into that. And well, I think what happened there is that wasn't a manual detonation, because I believe manual detonation is still bugged, correct? So if you actually manual detonate, I think you get additional damage. I don't know if it would have been enough to kill the light junks outright. I feel like it probably would have, though. Because look, they can do 500 damage, right? I'm pretty sure he didn't do a manual detonation, though. Like I said, manual detonation seems to be a bit clunky right now. I'm pretty sure they still haven't fixed it. Hopefully it'll get fixed soon. It just seems to screw with the balance of water entirely. Like, they're just doing additional damage when they shouldn't be. And then, of course, there's still the issue of once you go up to Imperial Age, explosives is just, quite frankly, the most broken tech in the game now. Most definitely so, considering the nerfs towards Homeblades. For those that aren't familiar with what I'm talking about, explosives not only increases the damage, as it states on these incendiary ships, it also increases the range, which means that you explode basically like from here to about out where the relic is. That's your splash damage. It's absolutely huge. It's absurd. So, Blue Elephant went up to 4 of these. It's boom boom time. He can push his opponent off the water. Have to be quick, though. Springald's being built on land by Xiao. Trying to snipe out. Just in time for the war junks to arrive. He needs to go for the manual detonation, but he doesn't. And mistakes being made there. Not much value gained out of that. And even with the Lancers, his opponent built into Springald. Springald's now still not being nerfed just yet. Means Xiao will have the edge here. And now, Blue Elephant needs to buy enough time to get maybe about 4 of these incendiary ships up again before he can push out. Really needs to hit that manual detonation, though. I'm just not liking what I'm seeing here. Yeah, he's just more or less attack clicking most of the time, if anything. That's the problem. So float this bad boy out. Nobody really get close enough, though. Just gets detonated. No damage done. Wait, is this completely bugged? Well, that... I got so many questions right now. Like I said, Blue Elephants are bugged in more ways than one, and we're seeing it here, folks. As the explosive dad, I mean, like, honestly, the boom ships just don't make sense right now. Like, he was point blank on that. So I don't know if they changed it. I don't think they wrote it anywhere if they did. I don't recall anything being written about it. If they did, I must have glanced over it in a stupid way. In that case, stupid me, but I'm double checking the patch notes right now. There's nothing specifically in there about what happens if you kill an explosive ship before it detonates itself. So I thought that's what it might be, and that's what it looked like it was in that engagement. But as we saw, a light junk literally parked itself right up against it, basically just rubbed itself up and down the incendiary boat, and nothing happened, right? So there's definitely some funky interactions right now around the incendiary ships. Ball pressure really coming out onto Blue Elephant right now. He's going to be forced off the water, which means now Xiao, once he does this, once he gets you off the water, he can just control these passings, right? Then you have a difficult time ahead of you actually getting across the river, this critical choke point. And you can see with the Springald army already building up for Xiao, he's going to have the edge in holding you back. So you really need a large amassment to fight back against this, a mobile amassment, as Blue Elephant is going into the Lancers, as well as sprinkling it with quite a few scouts. I like this move, by the way. I think not enough people utilize scouts. Scouts are actually economically a lot more viable and a lot more valuable now after Horsemen have been nerfed. Remember, Horsemen, they lost 20 health at all levels, and thus they suck even more in the melee situation. They got a little bit more range, but against Springals, it doesn't make that much difference. However, scouts, right, for comparison, these normie Horsemen, I think they have 120 if I recall correctly, but of course it costs you 120 resources total. Compare that to the scouts. Scouts, 110 health for 60 food. You can see the value, right? And they do the same amount of damage when they get in range to start burning something down, aka the Springals. It's a really cool move. And finally, quite delayed on the capturing sacred sites. We're not used to seeing this when we watch Delhi, but this is the new state of the game. We'll move out 18 minutes to capture the sacred site, and that'll give you gold treacle, of course, 200 per minute because you are Delhi. And look at this sneak in. Blue Elephant, he actually got troops all the way around the back, and he finds the step readout. This is going to be a huge hit to Xiao's economy. He's starting to produce into the crossbowmen, but he's probably going to lose all these villages in the meantime. Not much he can do to protect them. Outpost is helping out somewhat, right? It's got the Springald installation there, so it should force these Lancers away, especially when they see the crossbowmen are trickling in. But decent amount of the villages taken out there. Slowed down the production as well. The step readout wasn't actually being banked into. As we look back at the river, we'll see finally Xiao has full control of this. And we'll push across the fords, straight towards the sacred sites. Remember, Blue Elephant, this is where he's getting a big chunk of his extra gold, actually doubling up Xiao's income per minute after that harassment on the step readout. Wants to return the favor to the economy. The scouts are still building. He's biding his time. So the fight will commence on the sacred site. Only a few Lancers here. He wants to back them out. And he is not moving in the scouts just yet. He doesn't have any siege either on the Delhi. I wonder what his overall play is. He's starting to switch over to farm economy now. Of course, this is something that you can't do as the Mongols, but of course the Mongols, they do have the superior, they gathered from sheep, but they're starting to build heavily into the pastures. Blue Elephant, in the meantime, he had to move out to a more dangerous gold vein, and that means he's going to lose a few villages on the exit. Still needs to solution these Springals. He keeps on building the scouts. But it's going to be go time soon. There's only so long you could delay this. And the problem he has is he has no solution directly to the men-at-arms because he stopped producing Lancers, which is why he's starting to get them out again. Yeah, you can see. This is actually pretty effective, right? 17 seconds to get Lancers because of that Scholar banked inside. You can see how powerful Delhi can be if they're allowed to scale into this late game kind of timing. I do think that they're not what I call a top 3 Imperial Age Civ, but they do have this cool timing in Castle Age now, off the back of the changes, off the, you know, now the viability of the War Elephants just being ramped up by the attack animation cancelling. I think there's a lot of elements that make Delhi kind of a powerhouse in Castle. I think if both sides here go to Imperial, I still actually give Delhi an edge compared to Mongols. Mongols can get quite formidable. I just don't know if I would say they're going to be that formidable with the way that he's building right now. It's not like he's playing for the Magadai. Magadai actually aren't that bad right now in terms of trading out against like a War Elephant economy. Or military, rather. But obviously, you'd have to contend with the scouts running down. The last, like, it's just kind of wonky to pull off. You want something kind of effective at getting through armor, which is why you see he's just got this strong army of front man-at-arms, Springalds, and then crossbows as well to just whittle you away and down from range. And even more Springalds show. Good lord. You ever feel like this game's going to be heading towards a pop cap duel? It's kind of feeling that way. Have we got more tower? Yeah, even more tower elephants coming out. Only producing them one at a time. They are very, very expensive. Push out. So they breach the passing, just getting rid of that pitiful one ship defending here. And Xiao will start to move his Springalds around a little bit. A lot of builders that will scout out this information, though, and he's already moving the villager line back. They've already depleted this whole wood line, so no reason to be here anymore. And it looks like, yeah, heavy military structure. 4 more archery rangers being dropped here. Springalds looking to get involved. Lancers trying to charge in right now. Men-at-arms clash with them. The Springalds are exposed, though. They're revealed to the scouts. The scouts just dive in deep. And they'll start picking them off quickly here. Xiao not really getting for the scouts quick enough. This was the solution. Now, in the meantime, the War Elephants smashing through the ships. We'll move in. Xiao still trying to retreat away, but it's just not effective, my friend. You don't get a movement speed buff with the Deerstone onto these Springalds, so you're going to be chased down. The whole siege army seems to have been depleted for the most. The archer army is still standing for the moment. Question is, will it be standing for long? The War Elephant's moving in, smashing through these Springalds one by one. Scout army is all but gone, but it has served its purpose, as more or less every single Springald has been depleted about the same time as they have. A few Lancers left over. We'll just try and buy time for the War Elephant to move away. The formation bugging is not going to work out to his advantage here. It doesn't actually get him close enough to the archers to complete retreat. They'll chase him down. I think he probably still loses this War Elephant with the pursuit. But it looks like Xiao, no, he says, damage done, rebuild my Springald army, don't prioritize chasing that War Elephant. All right? Let them go home and tell their friends what they saw here. While that's happening, more War Elephants being rebuilt. But I like that play out overall out of Blue Elephant. I think that was the perfect solution. You're playing against Mongols. Mongols are very hard to match on the Springald front in this matchup, just simply because they have the siege improved siege engineering, right? So they just build these out in the field. No extra cost, nothing like that, right? None of that, of course, now you can build Mangonels these days. But this is kind of the wonky part. He can't play directly into a siege-on-siege engagement. We can't play that hard Springald meta that we see so often when you're Delhi against Mongols. You have to play into something else. And the Scouts was a genius move. It's just so cost-efficient, right? If you think about how many Springalds were there, like, I want to say 14 maybe. He maybe had, like, 30 or so Scouts. Economically, that's just a complete win for for Blue Elephant, rather. But he does have to find a way to hit Xiao's economy. Because Xiao's going to move towards his base now, but he's created this outpost crawl. You can see he actually snuck in a villager all the way here. That's going to force the elephants away. Very slow moving, these Tower War Elephants. So they're forced to engage in a weird way. They're going to lose out in the long term. Actually, sorry, though, that was the Yam speed. I thought he'd gone... no, because he never picked up a Siege Workshop in the end, did he? So no, he didn't actually bother to go for Siege Workshop to get the movement speed buff on the Springalds. Kind of surprised by that. I think if you get that movement speed buff on the Springalds, then the War Elephants can never catch you. I mean, they kind of can't anyway with 0.88, right? But also, just the chase down of those Scouts becomes a lot more wonky, a lot more difficult to pursue. But I guess 1.15 overall is not bad, right? Compared to the normal one. Yam speed does this purpose. So more Springalds being built up. No interest in Trebs. I'm not surprised. I feel like nobody tends to go Trebs unless everything gets bogged down into a choke point and a slow slog. like, it's basically a last resort because you're outmatched in some other way. If you feel like you can just stand here and take things out with Springalds, it takes longer, but Springalds have that diverse use, right? When they're done attacking buildings, they'll go attack units, and they'll kill them quite fast. Speaking of killing, looks like Xiao has a little bit of trouble on his gold line, but he did guard it, and he has got the outpost around, so overall, these Lancers are going to be spent. Not too much of an impact there. Like, eco-wise, Xiao seeing a 56 at the end of the day compared to the 71, so Blue Elf will definitely look more sturdy there, but he has to look more sturdy, right? The step redoubt gives that extra drop-off, so you have to actually have a villager count above your opponent to kind of compete in that regard. And it does look like Blue Elephant now just harvesting heavy into the stone outcrop. I wonder if anyone's thinking Impage. Like we said, Impage isn't the biggest deal, right? The most amazing thing for either of these two civs in this matchup, I don't think. But if you had the option open to you, you definitely take it, because at the end of the day, it is going to be an edge, right? It's going to be like elite unit X, elite unit Y, compared to your opponents being stuck on veterans and whatnot. And Keep's going to be dropped now, so Blue Elephant just trying to protect himself, protect his eco pocket expansions, right, as he's got mill out here with farms surrounded. And he has to, considering Xiao committed to this crawl into his base with the outpost, you are somewhat exposed. And just a few villagers here and there being sniped out in the meantime. And here come the scouts again. Still no spears being built by Xiao, by the way. It's just man-at-arms and crossbows. But Blue Elephant says, no, that's not good enough. There's just too many there right now. I can't charge in. So try and prep a military force to actually go in with the raiding force, as I'll call them, which is the scout line. Scout line just needs to prioritize these Springalds, and then you need to find a way to snipe through the rest of the units. The fact is, Xiao this time around hasn't actually gone heavily into the Springalds, right? He stopped at 6. He didn't build up to that 14 army. So for Blue Elephant, while this scout rush will somewhat solve the problem, it's wasted your production rates when you should have been committing it to, say, Lancers. Lancers in this situation would have given you the in to smash through your opponents. That being said, crossbows are still problematic in that matchup, right? Crossbows getting the damage buffed up against the cavalry, or rather heavy units recently. Which means that crossbows more or less counter everything you want to do at the moment, right? Lancers and elephants to go for Blue Elephant. Blue Elephant really needs more archers, I'd say, if anything. Otherwise, you know, your war elephants, your lancers, they're going to get sniped down very quickly. The man-at-arms, although they technically do not come out as the favored individual in the matchup with lancers, they are tanky enough that they waste the time of them so the crossbowmen can just smash them in. And that's what matters. I love these little raid parties, by the way. Blue Elephant, once again, getting a few of these knights around the back. Sneaking back towards it, but the step readout's moved to the other side now, so it's in the completely wrong location. So we won't be able to find them. And I do believe I just heard something fancy getting dropped. If I can find it. Maybe I was mistaken. I thought we were getting a tech up. I think it might be actually Blue Elephant. Either that or he's completely spent on the resource front. It doesn't look like anyone's teching up though, so I guess he's just spending. Springalds in the meantime, just slow the siege through all the houses here. Not really able to target the Keeps. Keeps a little bit too tanky for their liking. And one crossbowman around the back. Oh, the masterful sneak. This is so effective, by the way. Like, he kills them at a decent rate. Blue Elephant doesn't want to engage in melee because it'll still take ages to kill the crossbowman. He hasn't even noticed this is happening because, remember, right, guys, when you're defending like this, the pings are going off in your base. All you can, like, see are these attacks on the house, on the TC, on the keep from the Springalds. Xiao has actually done a great job of just what was usually just meant to be a scout, setting him to be an assassin because you don't actually notice these notifications, these pings on your map about being attacked because, look, you're being attacked here, there, and everywhere, as Xiao also sneaks 5 archers around the back. Doesn't actually prioritize them on the villages, though, so a bit of a wasted effort and maybe an opportunity for Blue Elephant to realize what's happening here. And yeah, he will move the Lancers in now. Bit of a whoopsie-daisy. Xiao, I think he snipes out only 1 villager in the end. Probably could have had 2, maybe 3 of them in that time, but he was attacking the farm by accident the whole time. And in the end, they do get rid of the crossbowman, but definitely had his value there. I think he killed, what, 5, maybe 6 villagers in the end. Blue Elephant now at 76 eco compared to 67. So Xiao definitely putting a dent that allows him to even up. And remember what we said. That's an advantage for the Mongol player here. The step readout is making his economy much more efficient than that of the Delhis. And here we go. Scouts moving out. 47 is the magic number. Thought we were going to wait until 69, but nope. Don't worry, though. There's more than 69 troops here in total. Blue Elephant charging out, straight onto the Springald line, trying to back them away quickly here. They buff the movement speed, the attack speed rather, try and turn it around and get through the scouts. Most of them are dead, but the Springalds, They're dead as well, so they serve their purpose, and now that makes room for the Lancers to move in. Tower War Elephants trying to get on top of the targets here. And the crossbowmen and melt, and the Tower War Elephants definitely effective against this. 4 of them is all that is really needed. And Xiao, without the Springals, has no answer to this. So his army is going to be all but wiped. The War Elephants even cut off reinforcements, while the Lancers and the Archers clean up what's left in the center. And then he splits, knowing they're tanky enough. Now Xiao does have the War Junk involved, trying to help burst down these elephants, but look at the keep drop. Moving up now, trying to get those defenses in place, as the War Elephants' deaths will not be for nothing. And 2 of them still incredibly healthy. The other 2 almost dead at this point. But it doesn't matter. Xiao has lost the main army. He has got a flanking force coming around the back to hit onto Blue Elephant's economy, though. And he's going to need it, because right now he doesn't have any forward military force to defend himself, right? So if Blue Elephant thinks that his opponent is undefended, he can march into his territory. The problem is, because this flank is coming in, Blue Elephant might be inclined to go back and defend his own economy, which is now exposed by the slow-moving man-at-arms and crossbowmen. Blue Elephant will back up. Not looking to cross the river just yet. Trickling is not going to be effective against the crossbows, but it creates enough space that he can get this keep down. He does need to respond to the damage on his economy, though. He still hasn't even moved the villages away. So he's just losing so much effective food income at this stage. You'll see that number drop. In fact, soon he's going to be behind Xiao in terms of food income. And he will finally realize that after losing half of the farm expansions here, we'll back the villagers away. Damage still definitely done, though, by Xiao. And that might delay the effort out of Blue Elephant. I don't know if he's likely to push across as quickly now. And that's important, because Xiao was fully exposed, right? We saw it, but remember, when you look at the vision for Blue Elephant, he knows nothing of this. He hasn't seen it cross that side for a while. And that'll buy much needed time for Xiao to rebuild this Springald line, which is going to be critical to taking down those War Elephants. And he needs to get the crossbows out in number again. And I wonder, is it going to be the same play coming out from Blue Elephant? Is he going to go once again into those scouts? I'd be fine with it. The problem is he needs to replace all his food eco, right? Lost half of his villages back here. No one was working either. It means he's very far behind in the food count, which is why he's not able to just spam them out like there's no tomorrow. And archers will be drawn away by the crossbows. Xiao will eventually lose these. They are slow. Remember, 1.12 compared to the 1.25 movement speed of the archers. So it will be a slow but a sure death. And while that's happening, Xiao just sending in skirmishes to frustrate onto the eco lines. So we'll force Blue Elephant away from this greatly needed gold. He at least has some protected expansion now, right? And this has also freed up more room to stick more farms in a guarded location. These farms around the back have become a liability. He actually wants this protected economy around these keeps now. And that's the play he's looking for. Meanwhile, Elephant's aggressive play is going to be moving this Lancer force in. And this is where the step redoubt is located. And there is not enough room to protect all these workers. 17 people here. The Springals are moving across quite quick to try and assist here. It's not going to be quick enough. These Lancers will snipe out a few villages. If I say that. Oh no, the split around the gold vein. So he doesn't get to snipe out a single villager here. And it's going to be forced back to his side of the map. That's got to be frustrating there. The wraparound, if they all went the same side, maybe you charge in quick enough there, but no dice. Crossbowman finally cornered and picked off by Blue Elephant's archer line. But now he's got a problem, right? We're seeing the dance that Xiao can do. Yeah, you know, the Springals are somewhat immobile, but nowhere near as immobile as the War Elephants. The War Elephant's 0.88 movement speed means that you can actually pull them left to right, constantly responding to raids. And I think that's what Xiao's plan is now. He's like trying to utilize the fact that he has a more mobile force, right? Like, even the men-at-arms are ridiculously speedy, currently down to the 1.12, but when they're trying to get out in the field, we talked about this before, you pass the Deer Stone, you get that initial buff, that juice-up effect for 20 seconds can actually get you past the threshold of the halfway point of the map, and that gets you much closer to raiding onto the enemy lines. Man, the stalemate continuing. Neither side going for that Imperial Age. As we said, it just doesn't actually change much about this matchup. It really doesn't. Like, even the landmark choices don't feel that like impactful in the grand scheme of this game as things currently stand. For Xiao, it's just about Springald spams, right? For Blue Elephant, it's genuinely about what's in the name. It's about those elephants. And of course, he will actually go up to Imperial Age in the end, but it's not going to be to benefit the War Elephants. Which landmark did he get as well? Okay, so he went for the Hissar Academy. Okay. This is a cool one. As you can see, it generates food based on the total number of technologies researched. I don't feel like I've been seeing this one that much, but then quite often I feel like I haven't been seeing Delhi in Imperial Age. Usually the game's over before that. And now Xiao has a hard choice. Do I try to raid? Do I try to actually hit the jugular? Or do I go for Imp myself? what is really the benefit in his mind is probably what he's thinking as well. If I go up, like, what am I missing right now? I have crossbows. They get buffed up. That's nice. Man-at-arms, stop producing them. It's just all about the crossbows now. And Springalds aren't really going to get any serious benefits out of being up at Imperial. So Xiao has this really tough choice where his only real good option is to go and assault the enemy's economy and try and slow down what they're doing before they get this elite military force that's in the imp age and just out-tech you, right? Man, you can see the impact coming out from the Hussar Academy. I'm not sure how much of this comes down to the Hussar Academy. I wish there was actually a number showing how much food it's generating per minute. It's definitely giving a decent chunk, though. Keep being built. Fairly fast, but this isn't China building speed, so you're going to actually have a decent number of your villagers sniped out. In fact, he's going to abandon the endeavor entirely. And that does mean he's losing more elephants on the retreat as well, because they were here alone. He didn't have his mobile army nearby. Springal's sniping on the side. Xiao needs to end it now, and he knows it. Villagers going to continue constructing onto this keep. And I don't think they're disrupting it anymore. They're just engaged on with the Springald line. They have to actually deal with that first. Scouts need to try and wrap in here. But remember, the crossbows melt through them pretty quick. Well, they have pushed them back. Khan's been killed as well, so no more ability to come out for Xiao. Xiao running out of time to end this. He needs to do it fast. Veteran archers haven't been upgraded yet, but I'm almost certain they're going to be soon. Yeah, you can already see that siege elephants is also being... Oh, come on. Siege elephants are being researched, so he's going to get the crossbowmen instead of the archers. That means that now the tower elephants are going to be super effective at sniping out the Springalds as well. And Xiao, with this retreat away, almost just forfeiting the game at this stage. Like, you surrender that forward point, you alleviate that pressure away, and you're going to allow your opponent to build a superior army to yours. Xiao has bought enough time that he's almost got the required resources for a tech up, but like we said, what are you aiming for? Like, what is your golden child that you want to unleash? Hand cannoneers, maybe? Possibly, but remember, they did get nerfed. Their numbers got reduced. I believe they lost about 4 damage overall, I want to say. Yeah, so hand cannon damage reduced from 42 to 35. So they lost 7 damage overall. Just trying to balance out how ridiculous late game was, right? Because usually we get to that Imperial Age and everyone just spam hand cannoneers instead of any other ranged units outside of Springals, of course. So he's just trying to actually, you know, it's just trying to balance out how one-dimensional Imperial is becoming. So I don't even think hand cannoneers is going to be that viable of a strategy, actually. It might be the only one Xiao has at this rate, though. And he has built into Trebs now. Not someone we're used to seeing out of the Mongols too frequently. Usually games are over at this point. And he has begun the tech up. So it is going to be the White Stupa. This is the one that functions as an Uvu, just giving you infinite stone over time. And that will allow him to keep up double production, because he has to keep replacing these lost units, right? Springald Army is getting amassed pretty quickly. Outposts being dropped as well. So Xiao kind of prepping for this situation where he's going to be pushed back into his own base. He wants to be ready to have the strongest defense force possible. He's going to need it. The elite lancers are being spammed out now, and so many of them are coming. And with the cannon fodder line of the scouts, guaranteed you're going to see these lancers get close enough to strike. And that's going to be problematic for Xiao, because remember, Xiao doesn't have much in the way of a front line. He's got 5 spearmen to his name, and that's literally it. Never switched it up either. I mean, you can see it in the military production buildings, right? The difference. Just so much more value out of Blue Elephant's choices. You know, one has an archery range, one has a barracks, one has loads of stables, one has loads of archery ranges. And that's kind of the summary of the situation. And we're entering a late game situation where it's an unfamiliar sight, right? Because of the changes around trying to nerf cavalry, cavalry not being spammed as often super early. Now we're getting a late game cavalry boom with all these lancers being built into. And time is being bought. Blue Elephant keeping the keep up for longer, just buying a little bit extra time to get those additional lancers out. Xiao not really continuing the Springald production. He slowed down. He's had several of them sniped out by the Blue Elephant's Springald army. Definitely getting the impact out of those. Double Siege Workshop. I believe he has the superior range, right? Yeah, that's been the difference, and that's kind of a concerning one from Xiao. Xiao, he never actually went and got the research, right? So he's had 10 tile range to the 12, and that is why he lost what seemingly seems like half of these Springalds in the blink of an eye and hasn't put a dent into anything Blue Elephant has. Really big mistake there, Xiao. At this stage in the game, I know you're kind of wood-capped, and I know you're running out of places to get wood, unless you head north. But you 100% needed to actually get your hands on the Shah technology. I think the Shah technology gives you the edge to keep going here. If you're so heavily in on Springalds, it seems almost just silly to neglect such a critical upgrade component of these units. It almost feels like Xiao thought he'd be able to end this game for it. He'd be in his face. It wouldn't come down to this. But it is. It's problematic. Bombards and Springals causing trouble right now for Xiao. And Lancers getting ready to charge in. Bombard's just pursuing. Show, crawl and retreat. Scouts leading the way. Axe. Oh no, they stopped to actually snipe on a deer. So he's going to lose one Springald for that. And the crossbow line in a bit of trouble here. Being pushed past though. They prioritize the Springalds. Springalds are more important in this situation. Tower Wall Offense on their way slowly. And well, after they clean up the Springalds, they'll turn around for the main force. Show. Not really much coming out that can solve this either. The outposts are helping out somewhat, but the Springalds are all but gone. The crossbows are going to be overwhelmed by the archers. And with the War Elephant and the Bombards in your base, it looks like Show is all but done with this one. I don't really see how he gets you out of here. And he can't. It's just done. He's going to call the GG. No surprise there, but what a showing coming out from Blue Elephant. Delhi proving that they can actually still be a formidable force. It's just you're going to have to aim a little bit later than maybe the Feudal Age guys. You know, you're going to have to go for that castle, that Imperial Age. You're going to have to actually tap boom up. You're going to have to get your Lancers and end the game late. And no surprise considering it takes 11.5 minutes to research Home Blades.